Hi, it's Nadia here. Today I'm going to teach you how to make this fantastic cluster ring. I'm going to call it a chill ring because you need to be chilled when you make it. It's not difficult, but it does take time and you will need some patience. But believe me, it's worth the effort. I'm going to list all the materials that you need in the box below. And please have a look at our website as well, nadiaminkoff.com, for any materials and for a lot of inspiration. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of our projects. Let's have a look at the materials and tools I'll be using. I'm going to be using 4mm beads. You will need somewhere between 24 to 30 of these, and some ball pins. For wire, you'll need 20 gauge wire and 26 gauge wire, and you can have it in any plating color that you want. You need round nose pliers, flat nose pliers, a pair of flush cutters, some nylon jaw pliers, and if you have them, some bent nose pliers, and you will need a ruler. You will also need a tube, and the tube that you need needs to be the size of the finger that you want to use. So the easiest way to check that it's the right size is by taking a piece of wire. Take a piece of your 20 gauge wire and wrap it around the tube just to get the circumference. Just very roughly like this, and then check and see if it's going to fit on your finger. The ring is going to come out slightly larger, so just bear that in mind when you're checking it. I'm going to start off by cutting a 25 centimeter length of my 20 gauge wire. And I'm just going to straighten it with my nylon jaw pliers. Next, I'm going to bring the ends together so I can find the middle. And now I'm just going to take it over my tube. I'm going to leave a slight gap so it's not exactly on it. Take it over till it crosses, and I'm going to make a twist. So I've left a slight gap, as you can see it's slightly bigger because I need these little wires at the end to be slightly longer later, you'll see why. And now I just carry on twisting and pushing down. Twist. And I do it, so I'm leaving about 2.5 to 3 centimeters at the end. And now I'm just going to cut the middle of this wire. So I've got two ends on this side as well. And now I'm going to straighten all 4 edges with my nylon jaw pliers. And I'm just going to slightly straighten the little twisted part as well, just so it's nice and straight. Now I'm going to bench my wire around the tube. So I hold it firmly in the middle and I bring it round one side and round the other. Just so my wires cross over. I'm just going to take it off so I can show you. Alright, so once my wires have crossed over and I know where they need to be, I'm going to take my flat nose pliers and I'm going to make a 90-degree bend at the ends. So push it down towards the tube and bring your two ends up. Do it on one side and again on the other side. So when you take it off, you've got the basic shape of your ring shank now, and your wires are going up at 90 degrees. I can just straighten it a bit more now that I know where it needs to be, and I'm just going to bring them a bit tighter together. And the idea is that we're going to wrap some wire just here where they join. The easiest way to make sure that you wrap your wire around the join neatly is by making sure that the top is held together. You can do this by twisting a small elastic band around the top. I'm just going to use that little piece of wire that I used for testing the ring size just to keep these parts together, and then I will take it off. I'm just going to twist it around. Next, I'm going to take a small length, about 10 centimeters, of my 26 gauge wire. And I'm going to put it right at the base where the join is. So I'm going to bring it around once. And now I'm going to twist it around a few times, going up. So just do it slowly. I'm going to do 4 twists. And I want them to be side by side, not overlapping at this point. And now I'm going to go back on myself. So now they can overlap. I'm just going to trim these edges ever so slightly and tuck them in. I've brought the little edges around and I've tucked them in inside between that little coil and the shank. And now I'm just going to use my nylon jaw pliers to just slightly squeeze down that coil that I did to bring it closer to the ring shank, just so it's neater. And now you can get rid of your rubber band or the little piece of wire if that's what you've used. I'm going to separate the 4 pieces of wire at the top. So I just want them to go straight up, but I'm just separating them and I'm going to straighten them. With my nylon jaw pliers. Next, I'm going to make 2 loops on each one of these wires so that I end up with 8 loops which I can attach my beads to. I'm going to start with the shortest one simply because the shortest one is usually the fiddliest one to do. So if you just take your round nose pliers close to the base, you might have to pull some of these wires out of the way when you're doing this, and wrap it round. So I've wrapped it round once and brought it around. I'm opening my pliers and I'm going to wrap it around again. So over the pliers, over one side of the pliers, around, underneath, and then I'm going to bring it up so it crosses over. So I've made 2 loops. And then you can cut off the excess, but make sure that you cut it so that you've got a complete loop. So as you can see, I've cut it so it's still crossed over the bottom, so the loop is completely closed. And I'm going to repeat this on all 4. I've got my 8 loops finished now, but because I've had to sort of move the wires around so I can do them, they're a bit sort of wonky. So now it's time to tidy up. First thing I'm going to do with my flat nose pliers is just bring each 2 together and twist them around a bit so that they're lying straight above the shank instead of sideways. Again, I just squeeze them together lightly and twist them round, so I've formed a little flower. And now what I need to do is actually separate my 8 loops slightly, open them up so that I'm able to put the beads on them. And now that I've got that done, I can just space them a bit better with my flat nose pliers. Remember, when you're doing this, because each 2 loops are on the same wire, it's a bit harder to space them, so just take a bit of time. The wire will actually bend the way you want it, but the main thing is that you're able to put your beads on them easily afterwards, so you must get the spacing accurate. So now we're ready to bead our rings, and I have chosen these Swarovski colors, and the easiest way to choose colors, I think, is by putting them on a pin just to see if you like the combination. So I've chosen a pearl, a platinum pearl as my first color, and then a bicone bead and another bicone bead in a light silk color, and finally I've chosen a pop of yellow. So it's always really easy to tell if you like your combination when you put it on a pin. And I think the best thing for these rings is to use a round bead at the bottom or a filler bead. If I show you this ring that I made before, I've used a silver metal bead at the bottom. So my first row was all the silver bead, it fills it quite well. I'm going to pin and loop my beads. If you need a reminder how to pin and loop or you've not done it before, I'm attaching a link at the top to show you an exact step-by-step way how to do it. If you're using long pins, remember to keep the ends, and I'm also going to put a link at the top to show you how to recycle and upcycle the ends of your pins to make head pins. Before you start adding your beads to your ring, remember to make sure that your loops are completely closed. To open your loop, you need to push the pin forwards or backwards. Again, I'm going to put a little link at the top to show you how to open loops and jump rings to make sure you do it correctly. So now we can start putting them on our ring shank, and I'm going to put one bead on every loop. So I've opened it, put it on the loop on the bead, and now I'm just going to close it. I'm going to repeat this on all 8 loops. I've put 7 of my pearls on, and I find it easiest to hold it upright each time before I add another bead, and add the bead from the top. Then I can always see which loop is the loop that's empty. So I've got one last one to do. I'm going to do it from the top. And then with my flat nose pliers, I close my loop securely. So my first row is done. Next up, I'm going to attach my grey bicone beads, my 4mm ones, which I've already pinned and looped. And again, I'm just going to open it. I'm going to hold my ring straight up, and I'm going to put the loop through the top and close it. So make sure it's well closed so that your bead doesn't fall off, and I'm going to repeat this all the way round. 7 bicone beads on, last one to go, so I'm just checking it again from the top, and I can see it goes here, so I'm just going to pop it in and close it. Next up, my 4mm bicone beads in light silk. I've got 8 of these ready, pinned and looped, and I'm going to put them on the next row. So I'm holding my ring upright, and I open one of the beads, slip it through the top, and close it. And again, I'm going to do it all the way round. I'm ready to put the last row on. It's going to be my yellow 4mm bicone beads. I know this last row is very tricky, so take your time and make it happen. It's worth it in the end. Let's go. Last one to go. I've put 7 yellow ones on. So again, I'm just going to hold it upright and I put my beads neatly, and I can see that I've got 1 yellow one missing just here. So from the top and close. All right. And there we go. Don't worry if there's if it feels to you like there's a little gap in the middle when you wear it. You can't actually see it, it fills up. So I'm going to put it on. And there we go. Enjoy making these beautiful rings. Take your time to make them, but you will not be disappointed. Make them with your leftover beads, or make them in little color combinations that you love. Enjoy wearing them, and I look forward to seeing you for our next project.